Well, it wouldn't be another week in mixed martial arts if there were not a lot of injuries and a lot of fight changes and cancellations and just basically a lot of uncertainty. Welcome, everyone. My name is Luke Thomas. So I was going to do a reaction video to the news that Rafael dos Anjos, the UFC lightweight champion, was not going to be able to fight Conor McGregor at UFC 196. And I thought, well, that would be silly for me to do it by myself because we have Ariel Helwani, whose finger is on the pulse. Ariel, thank you so much for taking some time out, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, a little role reversal. I like this.
Yeah, it is good. We should do it more often.
Yes.
Okay, so without further ado, let's pitch it to you. You've been all over Twitter. You can follow Ariel at Ariel Helwani. We'll put a note at the bottom of the screen. What is the latest in this saga between RDA and Conor? What's going to happen?
Okay, well, let me take a few steps back. Rafael dos Anjos, of course, he was supposed to fight March 5th against Conor McGregor. On Friday, he broke his foot, his left foot. Now, his plan was, okay, let me take the weekend off, let me try to rest, heal it up, and then hopefully on Monday, I'll feel a lot better. Went to see his doctor on Saturday, wasn't feeling too great about it, but still the plan was, let me take a couple of days off. Informed the UFC on Monday about it. They went and checked in with him, sent him to a doctor. Doctor then confirmed that he has a broken foot. He can't put any pressure on the foot for at least 3 weeks. Probably going to be out for at least 6 weeks. He doesn't need surgery as of right now, but I was told by his coach, Rafael Cordero, that it's pretty swollen, so they have to wait for the swelling to go down before determining really how bad it is. So, of course, the UFC now has to adjust. As we sit here right now, around 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday afternoon, I believe that it is a two-horse race. It's Nathan Diaz and Donald Cerrone. The names that have been considered over the last 24 hours or so, maybe a little less, Frankie Edgar was considered. He has a groin injury. He can't take the fight. Jose Aldo considered a little bit, but I don't believe he was at the top of their list. I do believe Nate Diaz was at the top of the list from the get-go, Cerrone right below him. And right now, as I said, two-horse race with those two names being the most prominent ones.
All right, so let's break this down just a little bit. For my tastes, I kind of like the Cerrone and Diaz two-horse race. I don't like them using either Khabib, which they have to pull from Fox, or Tony Ferguson, who they'd have to pull from Fox, because if you do that, you risk potentially both those guys losing. Those are both contenders. I mean, it's okay if one of them loses in that fight, but you don't want both of them potentially losing because then you lose contenders. The whole 145 thing just doesn't even work for me in terms of Conor making weight. I don't like it. I mean, those guys could bump, Edgar and Aldo could bump to 155, but what does that do? Between the two, do you have a preference, and do you think the UFC has a preference?
I don't think they could really go wrong because, as you know, the brilliance of Conor McGregor is that he has picked a lot of fights with a lot of people over the last few months. So let's say you go with Nate Diaz. You can show that clip of him on Fox calling him out and the history that they've had. You go with Donald Cerrone, you could go to the history that they had back at the September press conference in Las Vegas. There's a lot going on there. And you think about the other options, the Eddie Alvarez's, the Anthony Pettis's of the world, there's no real heat there between them. But to me, the biggest thing here is that you can't compare this. Like, this is Conor McGregor's, this would be Conor McGregor's 8th fight if he remains on the card in the UFC, right? And that would be the 4th time in 8 fights that he's had to adjust to a new opponent. And most recently, of course, was Jose Aldo in July, UFC 189. This situation is so different. It's not even funny because he is on the verge of history, or was on the verge of history. He was 12 days away from making history. No one has ever held 2 titles at the same time in 2 different weight classes. So anything not named or anyone not named Rafael dos Anjos is a step down for him. And this is not the kind of guy that, needs to get really mentally prepared. He's often talked about, the opponent really means nothing. It's a faceless person and all that. But think about it. I mean, Cerrone's fun. Diaz is fun, but it's not history. And he was about to make history. He had that opportunity. He was right there. So you kind of feel for Conor McGregor here. Of course, you feel for Rafael dos Anjos. He was on the verge of his biggest payday yet. But for Conor, man, he's going to have to sort of get his mind sort of mentally up for this, because anything else I kind of feel is a bit of a step down. To answer your question, I do think it's Nate, Cerrone, and then the rest.
Look, here's the deal. I don't actually look. Dos Anjos can't fight. He just can't fight, so he's gone.
Yeah.
I don't know that I need to see an interim title fight here. I know it would make some sense for them to do that, especially since the co-main event is a title fight. But look, it's going to be 5 rounds no matter what. It's not even clear Cerrone can make the weight. Maybe he could, given the time, but it's not 100%. I don't know what Diaz's situation is in terms of the weight. just make it a fun fight. To your point, you're right. History is kind of lost here. But even if they make it interim, that kind of complicates the division a little bit. And then, so what? He won a title. He's the first to hold 2 titles at the same time, even technically then. But it'd be doing that off the back of winning an interim title. Do you think? And I think Dana White told Kevin Iole they haven't ruled that possibility out. I wouldn't mind it if they did. Quickly,
No,
do
no,
you
no.
mind?
I don't think it's fair to Dos Anjos. I mean, let's not forget the guy just fought in December. I mean, that was 3 months ago. Not fair for him to put in an interim title. Those two fights are fun, and I actually think the Diaz fight it will sell. Cerrone will sell as well. I think Diaz probably sells a little more. I was told by Cerrone's manager today, just like 2 hours ago, that he currently weighs 174 pounds. As of last night, I just got a text like a minute ago. As of last night, Cerrone has hired Mike Dolce to help him get down. It's still very much up in the air. I mean, let's not also forget that more history is being affected here. There's a trickle-down effect. Conor McGregor really wanted to try to go after that 170-pound title at UFC 200, and he wanted to do so as a two-way world champion going for the third. Now he can't do that anymore. So does he skip over 155 and still go for 170? You know, they need some big names here. Or do they then do the Rafael dos Anjos fight at 200? Has that ship been sailed? RDA isn't Jose Aldo. I don't think he gets that same kind of leeway as far as, all right, booking things. Yeah, it's a very and oh, by the way, another fascinating thing, and I'd love to hear your take on what they do here. It's obvious that Conor McGregor is the biggest draw in the game, right? You keep him the main event, even though he's in a non-title fight, and Holly Holm is fighting Miesha Tate in the co-main event. Does that matter? Is that strange for the women? What do you do there? Because I can't see Conor going back down to a co-main event slot.
No, I think you keep him there. It's just proof that when a big fight like this falls out, it doesn't just affect those two guys or the card. It affects the division. It frankly affects the calendar. It affects multiple divisions now. If Conor McGregor can't find a way to stay active, it really has far-reaching, vast implications. Hopefully the UFC will be able to get back on their feet. Let's wrap this up real quickly because I know you got things to do and the situation's changing all the time. If you had to make a guess, where they're going to go? I'm going to lean Nate Diaz only because it's a bit of a curveball. Cerrone seems like the prohibitive favorite, but I think there's something about that Diaz spunk that might sell them, especially since Cerrone had a bit of a tough fight. Well, not tough fight, but he just fought. It's a little quickish. Your thoughts?
Okay, and I'm happy you mentioned that. I mean, let's not forget also, Cerrone fought 48 hours ago. That's insane. And the guy is out there tweeting that he's working out. I mean, the guy, he really is the genuine article. So I give him a lot of props. I give Diaz props. His tweet earlier today was pretty damn funny. This whole thing feels like complete wackiness, and another example of why I think this is the best beat to be on. It's just so much fun to cover this sport. If I had to hang my, it really is changing. It's unbelievable every minute. But I'll go with the 209. And this seems like the perfect opportunity, and maybe Diaz's last chance to get a shot at Conor as he continues to go in all different directions. So I'll go with that one, but I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being Cerrone either.
All right. Everyone, follow him on Twitter. You probably already do, but at Ariel Helwani. You can follow me at SBN Thomas, the site, MMA Fighting, at MMA Fighting on Twitter. Ariel, great work. Everyone will be following your reporting, and I guess safe travels as you head to London. Thanks for your time, man.
Thank you.